Chapter 17 of Barnaby Rudge. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Barnaby Rudge by Charles Dickens. Chapter 17. It was a chilly night, and the fire in the widow's parlour had burnt low. Her strange companion placed her in a chair, and stooping down before the half-extinguished ashes, raked them together and fanned them with his hat. From time to time he glanced at her over his shoulder, as though to assure himself of her remaining quiet and making no effort to depart, and that done busied himself about the fire again. It was not without reason that he took these pains, for his dress was dank and drenched with wet, his jaws rattled with cold, and he shivered from head to foot. It had rained hard during the previous night, and for some hours in the morning, but since noon it had been fine. Wheresoever he had passed the hours of darkness, his condition sufficiently betokened that many of them had been spent beneath the open sky. Besmeared with mire, his saturated clothes clinging with a damp embrace about his limbs, his beard unshaven, his face unwashed, his meagre cheeks worn into deep hollows, a more miserable wretch could hardly be than this man who now cowered down upon the widow's hearth and watched the struggling flame with bloodshot eyes. She had covered her face with her hands, fearing, as it seemed, to look towards him. So they remained for some short time in silence. Glancing round again, he asked at length, "Is this your house?" "It is. Why, in the name of heaven, do you darken it?" "Give me meat and drink," he answered sullenly, "or I dare do more than that. The very marrow in my bones is cold with wet and hunger. I must have warmth and food, and I will have them here." "You were the robber on the Chigwell Road." "I was." "And nearly a murderer, then?" "The will was not wanting. There was one came upon me and raised the hue and cry, that it would have gone hard with but for his nimbleness. I made a thrust at him." "You thrust your sword at him?" cried the widow, looking upwards. "You hear this man? You hear and saw?" He looked at her as, with her head thrown back and her hands tight clenched together, she uttered these words in an agony of appeal. Then, starting to his feet as she had done, he advanced towards her. "Beware!" she cried in a suppressed voice, whose firmness stopped him midway. "Do not so much as touch me with a finger, or you are lost, body and soul. You are lost." "Hear me," he replied, menacing her with his hand. "I, that in the form of a man live the life of a hunted beast, that in the body am a spirit, a ghost upon the earth, a thing from which all creatures shrink save those cursed beings of another world who will not leave me, I am, in my desperation of this night, past all fear but that of the hell in which I exist from day to day. Give the alarm! Cry out! Refuse to shelter me! I will not hurt you, but I will not be taken alive, and so surely as you threaten me above your breath, I fall a dead man on this floor. The blood with which I sprinkle it be on you and yours, in the name of the evil spirit that tempts men to their ruin." As he spoke he took a pistol from his breast and firmly clutched it in his hand. "Remove this man from me, good Heaven!" cried the widow. "In thy grace and mercy give him 1 minute's penitence and strike him dead." "It has no such purpose," he said, confronting her. "It is death. Give me to eat and drink, lest I do that it cannot help my doing, and will not do for you." "Will you leave me if I do thus much? Will you leave me and return no more?" "I will promise nothing," he rejoined, seating himself at the table. "Nothing but this: I will execute my threat if you betray me." She rose at length, and going to a closet or pantry in the room, brought out some fragments of cold meat and bread and put them on the table. He asked for brandy and for water. These she produced likewise, and he ate and drank with the voracity of a famished hound. All the time he was so engaged she kept at the uttermost distance of the chamber, and sat there shuddering, but with her face towards him. She never turned her back upon him once, and although when she passed him, as she was obliged to do in going to and from the cupboard, she gathered the skirts of her garment about her, as if even its touching his by chance were horrible to think of, Still, in the midst of all this dread and terror, she kept her face towards his own and watched his every movement. His repast ended, if that can be called one, which was a mere ravenous satisfying of the calls of hunger, he moved his chair towards the fire again, and warming himself before the blaze which had now sprung brightly up, accosted her once more. "I am an outcast, to whom a roof above his head is often an uncommon luxury, and the food a beggar would reject as delicate fare. You live here at your ease. Do you live alone?" "I do not," she made answer with an effort. "Who dwells here besides?" "One. It is no matter who. You had best be gone, or he may find you here. Why do you linger?" "For warmth," he replied, spreading out his hands before the fire. "For warmth. You are rich, perhaps?" "Very," she said faintly. "Very rich. No doubt I am very rich." "At least you are not penniless. You have some money. You were making purchases to-night." "I have a little left. It is but a few shillings." "Give me your purse. You had it in your hand at the door. Give it to me." She stepped to the table and laid it down. He reached across, took it up, and told the contents into his hand. As he was counting them she listened for a moment, and sprung towards him. "Take what there is. Take all. Take more, if more were there. But go, before it is too late. I have heard a wayward step without, I know full well. It will return directly. Begone." "What do you mean?" "Do not stop to ask. I will not answer. Much as I dread to touch you, I would drag you to the door if I possessed the strength, rather than you should lose an instant. Miserable wretch, fly from this place." "If there are spies without, I am safer here," replied the man, standing aghast. "I will remain here, and will not fly till the danger is past." "It is too late!" cried the widow, who had listened for the step, and not to him. "Hark to that foot upon the ground! Do you tremble to hear it? It is my son, my idiot son!" As she said this wildly there came a heavy knocking at the door. He looked at her, and she at him. "Let him come in," said the man hoarsely. "I fear him less than the dark houseless night. He knocks again. Let him come in." "The dread of this hour," returned the widow, "has been upon me all my life, and I will not. Evil will fall upon him if you stand eye to eye. My blighted boy! Oh, all good angels who know the truth, hear a poor mother's prayer, and spare my boy from knowledge of this man." "He rattles at the shutters!" cried the man. "He calls you. That voice and cry! It was he who grappled with me in the road. Was it he?" She had sunk upon her knees, and so knelt down, moving her lips, but uttering no sound. As he gazed upon her, uncertain what to do or where to turn, the shutters flew open. He had barely time to catch a knife from the table, sheathe it in the loose sleeve of his coat, hide in the closet, and do all with a lightning speed, when Barnaby tapped at the bare glass and raised the sash exultingly. "Why, who can keep out Grip and me?" he cried, thrusting in his head and staring round the room. "Are you there, mother? How long you keep us from the fire and light?" She stammered some excuse and tendered him her hand, but Barnaby sprung lightly in without assistance, and putting his arms about her neck kissed her 100 times. "We have been afield, mother, leaping ditches, scrambling through hedges, running down steep banks, up and away and hurrying on. The wind has been blowing, and the rushes and young plants bowing and bending to it, lest it should do them harm, the cowards. And Grip, ha ha! Brave Grip, who cares for nothing, and when the wind rolls him over in the dust turns manfully to bite it. Grip, bold Grip, has quarrelled with every little bowing twig, thinking, he told me, that it mocked him, and has worried it like a bulldog. Ha ha ha!" The raven, in his little basket at his master's back, hearing this frequent mention of his name in a tone of exultation, expressed his sympathy by crowing like a cock, and afterwards running over his various phrases of speech with such rapidity, and in so many varieties of hoarseness, that they sounded like the murmurs of a crowd of people. "He takes such care of me besides," said Barnaby. "Such care, mother! He watches all the time I sleep, and when I shut my eyes and make believe to slumber he practises new learning softly. But he keeps his eye on me the while, and if he sees me laugh, though never so little, stops directly. He won't surprise me till he's perfect." The raven crowed again in a rapturous manner.